Hello, and welcome to our video about installing RIC sensors. Today we will be with Palmer from Valley Ice, who has been kind enough to let us videotape as he installs a RIC into a cold wall merchandiser. Step 1 is prep work. When unboxing the unit, first check to make sure that all parts are there. You can check this by looking in the installation guide that is provided. After removing the packaging, check to make sure that the wires and the rails have not been damaged in transport. You'll notice additional wires on the second rail. These are for a future development that will allow us to put 3 or 4 rails inside one merchandiser. Palmer recommends that for now, you just zip tie them together so they don't get damaged. Lastly, you will want some frost buildup in the inside so that we can clearly see the Freon lines and avoid them during installation. Step 2 is internal setup. For most of you, the magnets on the devices may prove perfectly fine for holding them in place, but if you would like to make them extra secure, Palmer shows us a way to use riv nuts to secure them.
So I have 2 lines going this way, and 2 lines going this way, clearly visible, so I'm dead center.
Perfect.
I'm not using a washer. You gently find your little notch, and then I'm just drilling up into it.
Palmer then drilled through the 2 screw holes to mark the top of the merchandiser. And while he did not use a washer, he recommends that you do, as you will be pulling these screws right back out. Next, you're going to need a drill bit. Here, Palmer is showing me that he's marked his drill bit 3 notches down. He then goes into the 2 screw holes that he previously made and widens them. Now that the holes for the riv nuts have been made, it's time to add the riv nut itself.
Keep that guy tucked out of the way. Pick your spot. And squeeze. Now you can thread it like that, or if you're in a tight spot, you can unthread it like that.
Palmer then proceeds to do the exact same thing with the second screw hole. Once he has completed, we are finally ready to install our RIC rail.
Bottom there, big rub at the top. Now we have our impact, and we just gently tap it in. I don't want to crank it down too hard, but that is solid. That is moving. Look at that. Look at that.
Step 3 is wire management. Unfortunately, Palmer had already drilled a hole into the back of the box, but as you can see, he drilled it in the top corner away from the Freon lines to keep the merchandiser safe. He then takes the internal wires and shoves them through the hole to the back of the box.
Now, obviously, you can't leave the wires like this. This customers will rip them down
Sure.
the way. So,
Palmer likes to use 10mm cable clamps to secure extra wiring. Here he is using a screw from the icebox itself, adding a cable clamp, and then he is able to secure the wires out of the way and away from danger.
basically, nice and safe. I know there's no line. I know the line's right here. So if we're nice and tight up there, we don't have anything to worry about as long as we stay away from that line that drops down.
After using 2 cable clamps, Palmer uses one more zip tie where the wires meet to continue to pull them up and out of the way of the ice. Palmer will then use silicone to plug up the hole and protect the wires from the box.
You want to get plenty of silicone on the inside where these lines touch this metal, because you don't want them wearing over time, obviously.
Yeah.
So I like to go a little bit in the front here on the inside. I'm going to thread these through.
Palmer uses silicone because it is easy to remove if you need to during the maintenance process. He then applies silicone from outside the box to make sure that the seal is complete. Now that this is completed, Palmer will walk us through how to manage our power cords.
We have our ground adapter. I like. Or some flat side. 2-prong little heater wire. I like to electrical tape over the connection we're not going to use. So if we were going to have an accessory like a light bar, it would plug into this because this is plugging into the accessory
Right.
box.
But since you're not, you're just
You're not.
taping it up.
I just tape it up to keep dirt, debris, and whatnot out of there. And I use yellow tape so I know it was me that did this.
Depending on your situation, you may need all of the cable length provided. However, if you are in a situation like Palmer, where you don't need the extra length and the wires would just be in the way, you can stack the wires on top of themselves like he is showing here. He will then tie them together using a zip tie.
Personally, I like the power and the heater line to go in the same direction. And remember, we cut our zip ties because we are not animals. That is your basic power pack, nice and neat, organized, ready to go.
Palmer then accesses the box on top of the merchandiser so we can access the accessory cable and connect our power cord to it.
So we have our power pack, nice and neat. We have our gray line, got a black line there. So the first thing I do, make sure my green line is out. I zip tie the whole thing down. I don't want it flopping around. I don't want it touching this compressor. Below zip tie, once it really is nice and neat. Of course, we put zip ties because
Because we're not animals.
that's right. Now, we have our green ground cord. That's the next thing I do. Really put it anywhere. I usually put it on the backside with the other one, but in this case, I'll put it up front so it's easier to see. Doesn't really matter. As long as it's making contact. So, now we have our power cord. A larger peg, a smaller peg. And you just make sure to line them up right so you can't mess it up. Should click right in there. With our gray line here. Let's go. A zip tie sticker back, which is pretty cool. I like to go right where the hood meets. See why? Sometimes you want to clean that if it's dirty. this case, not too bad. This comes out nice and neat. I've got plenty of room for my antenna, and I can always use this. And pull this
Sure,
out
you can pull that
just as
slack.
necessary. But what I don't want are people being able to grab these slack lines from behind. You know, if somebody's hanging up by the ice machine up to mischief, which happens.
Sure.
So I like it nice and neat. And again, you could do another one too if you wanted to be even more. One's usually sufficient, and of course.
We're not animals.
Animals. Plug out. Make sure these lines are in good shape. They are. Now, if you need a little more slack, like if it's under an overhang and you don't want the antennas underneath there, I
Yeah.
would just move this out to here, and I would just give the antenna a little
Give
more
it
slack.
more. Yeah.
And actually, you could use at that point, just put another one here, and then use this one to keep it nice and neat, whatever you prefer. Take off the cap. Attach our antenna. Nice and neat and cleared away from the hood.
As Palmer just mentioned about the antenna, the white comm device, it is important that it remains outside of the hood of the box so that the hood does not interfere with its cell service. Palmer then provides us with a checklist to make sure the job is done. Green, gray, black, white, silicone, and zip tie.
Green.
Yep. Gray.
Gray.
Black. White, because the antenna
White.
Silicone.
Silicone.
And we're not animals.
And we're not animals.
You say the mantra every time, then you're not halfway to your next job going, did I plug in the power cable? Nope. Say the mantra.
And that is it. You now know how to install a RIC unit into a cold wall merchandiser. I would like to take a moment to specially thank Valley Ice for letting me come out and make this video, and to Palmer for teaching me how it's done. Thanks for watching, and we hope you enjoy Route Ice.